My name is Elias. I'm 52 years old and I live just outside Dallas, Texas. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a prophet. I'm just a builder. I work with my hands, pour concrete, frame houses, and try to keep food on the table like every other man out here. I never not in a million years thought I would die face down in the dirt beside a roaring cement mixer on a random Tuesday afternoon. But I did. The doctors later told my wife my heart had stopped for 12 full minutes. And in those 12 minutes, I saw Jesus. He did not welcome me into heaven. He did not open a gate or call me home. He stopped me. He stood in front of me, looked me straight in the eyes, and pointed back toward the earth, right at a calendar that read 2026. He looked me in the eye and said, "Elias, go back. You are not done. You have not built the shelter for your family." He showed me a disaster coming to this country that no gun can stop. And he made me come back to tell you about 3 things you need to get ready right now. My heart had stopped beating, but let me tell you, my soul was more awake than it has ever been. And what I saw about the year 2026, it would make the toughest men I know shake in their boots. It was November of 2025. I was out on the job site trying to finish a framing job before Thanksgiving. You know how tight money is right now. Materials cost a fortune and I was working 14 hours a day just to keep the debt collectors away. I remember wiping sweat off my forehead and reaching down to grab a stack of lumber. Then bam. It felt like someone swung a sledgehammer straight into the center of my chest. My knees hit the sand pile. I tried to take a breath, but the air just would not go in. My left arm went dead instantly. Music just hung there like a piece of wet rope. I heard my guys screaming my name, but they sounded like they were underwater. The next thing I remember is the ceiling of the ambulance. A nurse was yelling that I had no pulse. I saw her grab the paddles. She yelled clear. My body bounced off that stretcher and it felt like lightning went through my bones. It was pure fire. Then everything just shut off. Then I felt light. I wasn't heavy anymore. I opened my eyes and I was floating right up near the roof of the ambulance. I looked down and saw a big middle-aged guy lying there with a purple face. It took me a second to realize that was me. I saw the paramedics pushing on my chest and sweating. I wanted to tell him I was fine. I tried to yell, "Hey, stop hurting me." But they couldn't hear a word. Suddenly, the roof of the ambulance just dissolved. It vanished. A massive force grabbed me. It was like a giant vacuum cleaner. It pulled me up into the sky faster than a rocket. I saw the hospital roof. I saw the lights of Dallas getting smaller and smaller. I flew right through the clouds. I thought I was going to heaven to see my parents. I thought I was going home. But then I hit a wall. I stopped dead in front of a light so bright it should have blinded me, but it didn't. Standing in that light was Jesus. I knew it was him right away. I felt so much love coming off him that I wanted to run and hug him. I took a step forward, but he put his hand up. He stopped me. His voice sounded like thunder rolling in the distance. He said, "Elias, why are you here? Your house is wide open." I froze. I started stuttering. I said, "Lord, I go to church. I give money. I am a good man." He shook his head and looked right through my soul. He said, "You build houses for other people very well. Strong walls, good roofs, but your spiritual house has no walls. It has no protection. If I let you in now, your wife and children will be swallowed by the storm." He was heartbroken. He told me I had left my family naked in front of a hurricane. Then he waved his hand like he was opening a curtain. He said, Look at what is coming." I stood there next to him and we looked down at the United States. It looked like a big map coming to life. I saw a calendar floating in the air and the pages were flipping fast. 2024 went by. 2025 went by. Then it hit 2026 and stopped. The air got freezing cold. I looked at the big cities, New York, Dallas, LA. Suddenly the lights just went out. All of them. I looked at the highways and they were jammed with cars. Bumper to bumper for miles, but nobody was moving. They were out of gas or the cars just wouldn't start. It was quiet. A scary kind of quiet. Then I zoomed in on the suburbs, neighborhoods just like mine. I saw people I know, good people, neighbors who wave when you get the mail. They were fighting. I saw a man pointing a shotgun at his neighbor over a gas can. Just a red plastic gas can. Jesus spoke to me and his voice was heavy. He said, "Elias, this is the harvest. What people planted they are now picking." They trusted in the system. They trusted in money. They built their house on sand. And now the sand is washing away. But the guns weren't the worst part. Jesus pointed his finger and I saw something else. I saw a fog, a red fog. It started creeping across the ground like smoke from a fire. But there was no fire. It wasn't chemical. I could feel it in my gut. It was a spirit of heavy, dark fear. It moved fast. It went right through concrete walls. It went right through steel doors. I saw men hiding in expensive bunkers. They had food for years. They had thick doors. But when that red fog seeped in, they just gave up. I saw them put guns to their own heads because the hopelessness was too heavy to carry. Jesus told me, "Elias, no bullet can stop this. This is the spirit of fear and depression. Only a house with the mark can keep it out." At that time I was terrified. I yelled out, "Lord, how do I save my family? How do I stop the fog?" He didn't say a word. He just pointed to one single house in that dark neighborhood. It was the only house with a light on. He took me inside. We stood in the living room. On the coffee table there was just one thing, a Bible, but not on a phone, not on an iPad. It was a paper Bible, old and open. Jesus looked at me and said, "Elias, when the power grid dies, your phone is just a brick. My word must be physical in your house." He told me to open it and leave it open. Don't close it. He said, "Let the word rule the air in your home. It is the only sword that can cut through that red fog. But a sword needs a shield." Jesus showed me the second thing. It wasn't some holy relic you have to buy. It was sitting right there on the kitchen counter. A bottle of olive oil. Jesus looked at me and smiled just a little. He said, "Elias, you are a builder. You know what sealant is? You know what waterproofing primer is?" He said, "This oil, when you pray over it, acts just like that." He told me, "When I get back, I need to take that oil and touch the door frames of my house, the front door, the back door, the windows." He said, "It is just like the blood of the lamb back in Egypt. When that red fog, that spirit of fear sees the oil, it has to pass over. It hits an invisible wall. It has no legal right to cross that threshold. It is the cheapest insurance policy you will ever buy, but it is the only one that works when the world goes crazy." Then he showed me the third thing, and listen, this is the most important part. He said, "Elias, when the storm hits, you need a bunker, but concrete cannot stop the fog. You need a spiritual bunker." He pointed to a small closet in the hallway of that lit-up house. Someone had cleared out the coats and put a little rug in there. He called it the war room. He said, in 2026, the noise outside is going to be deafening, panic, lies, screaming. You need a place that is quiet. You have to go in there, shut the door, and get on your knees, even if it is just 10 minutes. He told me that when the cell phone towers die and the internet goes black, that little closet is the only radio station that will connect to heaven. He showed me the difference. The men who just prayed in their heads while driving or working, they got swept away by the anxiety. But the men who had a physical place to kneel, they stood like rocks. Then the scene changed fast. We were flying over Texas again. I looked down and saw those massive mega churches. You know the ones I mean, the ones that look like sports arenas with 20,000 seats and smoke machines. In the vision of 2026, they were pitch black. The parking lots were empty. There were heavy chains and padlocks on the glass doors. The bands were gone. The famous pastors were gone. I looked at Jesus and asked, "Lord, where are you? Why aren't you down there?" He said, "I am not there." They built their house on sand, on entertainment and emotions. When the storm hit, music, the sand washed away. Then he pointed his finger back to the small beat-up houses in the working-class neighborhoods. He said, I moved. I have moved into the kitchens. I am in the living rooms of the fathers who know how to lead their families. The vision moved forward again. Flipping through the months like a movie on fast forward, I saw a freezing January, I saw a May where folks were starving. But then it stopped. November 2026, Thanksgiving Day. Now, us in Texas, Thanksgiving is huge. It's noise. It's football. It's too much food. But what I saw, man, it chills me to the bone. Just telling you. I saw families sitting around their dining room tables, but there was no turkey. There was no ham. The plates were empty. The house was freezing cold because the power was gone. But the lack of food wasn't the scary part. It was the silence. Nobody was talking. I looked at their eyes, fathers, mothers, kids, and they looked dead inside. Like the light in their souls had been blown out. And I heard Jesus speak. His voice wasn't thunder anymore. It was urgent. He said, Elias, the door of grace is closing. Whoever's not on the boat when the rain starts stays in the storm. That hit me harder than the heart attack. At that time, I started screaming in my spirit, Lord, no. Send me back. I have to warn them. My wife doesn't know. My kids aren't ready. Please. And then bam. It was like I got dropped from a skyscraper and hit the concrete. I slammed back into my body. The pain was so bad I almost passed out again. My chest felt like it had been ripped open with a crowbar. I found out later the paramedics had cracked 3 of my ribs doing CPR. But I opened my eyes. The lights were blinding. I was in the ICU. All I could hear was that machine. Beep, beep, beep. My wife was right there gripping my hand, crying her eyes out. Normally, I would have been moaning about the pain. But I didn't care. I didn't care about the tubes. I reached up with my good hand and ripped that oxygen mask off my face. Then I pulled my wife close. I had to tell her. I rasped out, Baby 2026, the fog. We have to move. We have to get ready. She looked at me like I was crazy. She patted my head and whispered, Elias, rest. It's just the medicine. She thought I was hallucinating. She didn't know I had just seen the end of the world. But I wasn't crazy and I didn't wait to heal up. The day I got home from the hospital, I was still limping, clutching my side. But I went to work. I'm a builder, and when a foundation is bad, you fix it immediately. I grabbed a black trash bag and I went room to room. My family watched me like I had lost my mind. I didn't care. I opened drawers and threw out the violent movies, the horror DVDs. I grabbed those weird little statues and masks we bought as souvenirs overseas. The ones Jesus showed me were open doors for that dark spirit. Into the back. Then came the big one. I walked into the living room and looked at our 65 inches TV. That thing was the center of our house. We spent hours staring at it. I unplugged it and hauled it out of the way. My ribs were screaming in pain. But I didn't stop. I dragged an old wooden table into that spot. I went and got my grandmother's Bible, the heavy one with the paper pages, and I laid it there wide open. Then my wife and I took that bottle of olive oil from the kitchen. We walked to the front door, the back door, every window. We smeared that oil on the wood frames and we prayed. We didn't pray fancy words. We just claimed our house for Jesus. And I'm telling you the truth, the moment we finished, the air changed. The heaviness lifted. It felt lighter. It felt safe. And I knew right then we were finally building a house that could stand against 2026. God gave me a promise and I am holding on to it with everything I've got. He said, whoever listens to me will live. He reminded me of the story of Gone. You remember that? Back in Egypt, when the plague of darkness hit, it was so thick you could feel it. But in Gone, where God's people were, there was light. Jesus told me, your house will be gone. When the streetlights go dark in 2026 and fear spreads through the neighborhood like a thick red mist, your house will be different. There will be calm inside. There will be peace. There will be light. And listen to me, do not panic about food. I was shown that when store shelves are stripped bare and supply trucks stop showing up, God Himself will provide. I don't know if it will be through people, through angels, through unexpected doors opening, or through resources no one else can see, but provision will come. He told me clearly, do not be afraid of lacking food. Be afraid of drifting away from me. If you remain in His will, your supply will not fail. My name is Elias. I've done what I was sent back to do. God placed a blueprint in my hands and I've now placed it in yours. What happens next is your responsibility. Do not wait until the last moment. Do not wait until the end of 2026 to take this seriously. By then, the window will be closed. Start now. Start tonight. Step into your role. Be the spiritual covering over your home. Protect your wife. Protect your children. Stand in the gap for your family. And I ask you one final thing. Do not keep this message to yourself. There are too many fathers and husbands asleep right now, unaware that danger is ahead. They are leading their families toward disaster without even realizing it. Share this. Send it to them. Wake them up before it's too late. I am Elias. I'm getting my house ready.